So this was my prototype book, so I used different paper in it than I did on the actual ones I had printed. And the problem with this one, it was on linen paper, so the watercolor, although I could watercolor over it, it acted more like a sponge and didn't blend well, or it was tricky to blend. But I do like to have really bright, colorful pages, and I'm going to I want to show you how to do this gradations with watercolor pencil. And what I do is when I'm done with a page, I usually go and start on the next couple pages until I'm bored, and I'll just pick an area that I think that would be fun to paint. And then I move on from there. So right now I'm going to put this aside because it was my prototype. It doesn't have the same paper in it as the printed one does. So this is the printed one. You can watercolor, or you can color on the outside if you wish. I'm going to start on the first page. There are 34 pages in these books, so that you can have a extra page or two. So what I like to do is I like to do gradations in big areas so that you don't just get one huge color of blue. I tried that, I didn't like it. So what I do is, when you look at a rainbow, I try to stick to colors that would be next to each other. So like a light blue, green, and a light green, and probably yellow, especially in a big area like this. So I'll start with the blue on top and then go down from there. I also like to work a cool color next to a warm color usually. So since this is a cool color, blue is a cool color, the color here around this little scallop will be a warm color. Doesn't always work to where you can do that. So you want to get a good amount of coverage on here with watercolor pencils, even though you're going to be adding water in a minute. You can have a little bit of texture to it, but the less texture you have on the page, the less texture you're going to have when you use your brush to blend it all together. So the water brush I like to use is a Pentel with the big bellies. They seem to hold a lot more water. And when you're filling it up, make sure you only fill it to that water line, because if you fill it over that water line, the water will come spurting out at it when you try to use it. So, all right, so we're going to start blending. And you don't want a lot of water on these pages, but just enough to blend your paint. And as you go, all you do is kind of give the barrel a tiny squeeze. And the paper is fairly durable. It's going to wrinkle a little bit. After I'm done here with the water, I'll show you how it wrinkles. And once it's dry, you can go over it again with the pencil and then more water. But see, there's a little crinkle to the page. It's not bad. And it doesn't come through unless you do use a huge amount of water. There's a tiny bit of ghosting, but it's not bad. All right. So now I want to go with a warm color here. So I'm gonna you can use, you know, the colors that you like, but I just like to jump around with warm, cool, and then I go back and add colors that I think will complement each other. And you know what? It doesn't really matter if you just want to stick with one color in different tones, or one color in general that's your favorite color, go for it. I'm just going to slide the red around the corner there because it's a little bit of a gap. And then go up this side, and then I'm going to go with purples. Or purple. This set only has one purple in it. Sorry. I was not in the screen of it all. Now you can just use color pencil too if you want to forego that extra little step of using water over the top. Or if you don't have watercolor pencils. See, I think I'm going to go with a darker blue. This is a light blue, so I'm going to go with a darker blue, and then I'll go to green, a darker green. The key is changing it up from what's right next door. So green might be over here, but it's a lighter version than what I'm putting down over here. And to blend the colors well, you just go lightly over the top of the next color, like that. So your blue, you go back lightly over your purple, and so on. Purple lightly over the red, which I already did, I just didn't explain. You just use a lighter touch. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add water, and I'm going to, for some reason, I like to add the water going down, so I flipped it. And I also like to do the lightest color first, but since these are all about the same tone, I'm just going to start with the red in the corner. And I am using a fair amount of water. I'm just not scrubbing with it. I'm just washing really quickly with it. And if you scrub with it, it will go through this paper. So you have to be careful and use a light hand. You can go over it a little, you just can't go over it a lot. I guess a light hand would be, you know, just kind of a light touch. See how the color pencils, you get really good gradations, even though this isn't the perfect paper for watercolor, you get a really nice gradation. Usually when I'm using a water brush, I have tissue or something to wipe the brush off with. Right now, I am using my jeans, so sorry about that. I'm not, so from here, I think I'll go back to, let's go with a dark blue. You're really probably not going to write or have anything right there, so we'll make it a dark color. And put a little bit of that dark blue here. And I'm going to go, I think I'm just going to go back to purple and red again. that's not red, that is brown. It's red. And a dark pink. And then orange. It's up to you. What colors to use. I mean, you don't have to follow these exact. Play around with colors and see what goes well. If you're always going to be successful if you stay with the same color in a rainbow. So red next to orange is always going to work. Purple next to red is always going to work. Yellow next to orange will work. Just try to remember what colors are neighbors in a rainbow situation. You could try other combinations, but if you do, say, yellow and purple, you're going to get interesting brown tones. So, but it's always good to try and see what you get. So I am going to stay with a warm on this side because it's the cool and warm thing that I like to do. But since it's warm here, I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go, see, actually, I'm going to go purple. I was going to go pink, but then I thought, I better go purple. See, and purple and orange will also make a brown. So you have to kind of know what's... Just playing with color will help you to decide what's safe. Like blue and orange will make kind of a mud too. But hey, if you're into kind of a muddy color tones, then that would be good to know. So I don't have a whole lot of yellow here. I am going to use yellow in this area and yellow in the swirls. I'm going to start with a more natural yellow to kind of complement. It's a warm yellow. That's a cold yellow, cool yellow. When I work on illustrations, I like to layer up. So right now it doesn't look like much, but it will look better as I go. So I am going to put a little bit of orange. I think this is the lightest orange. I'm going to put a light orange at the end. I don't want it to be a dark orange because it's right next door. I don't mind if this is a dark orange because it'll show up okay because they contrast, but that one needs to be brighter. So I'm going to go over it with a bright... Well, I'll go over it with this yellow, so the warm yellow. All right, so now I need the brighter yellow right here. So yellow is going to be easiest next to green or orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put yellow in here, but I'm going to put it next to green. So this is a yellow-green. And then I'm going to put a brighter green, darker green. Just to show you that nothing's gone through on this other side. Just a tiny bit of ghosting. But as long as you don't use a huge amount of water, you'll be fine. So let's do the swirl first. Swirls. I love using watercolor pencil because how the color comes to life when you add just a little bit of water to it. It gets so vibrant. Watercolored paints do that, but they do it more, you know, in the palette. This is after it's on the page and it looks kind of dull, and then all of a sudden it pops on the paper. So there we have that. I used an awful lot of water on that blend, and it still hasn't gone through this other side. So it will wrinkle, though. See how it's kind of wrinkled? But it's not tragic because once it dries out, it'll flatten. So now you want to spend your time on your flowers. And I always start with yellow centers. That's just what I do. You could have a totally pink flower if you wanted. You could just do variations of pink or variations of purple. It's all up to you. I just like to make very colorful flowers, so I work in the whole rainbow scheme of things again. So yellow to orange to pink to red to purple to blue. And you have to be careful when you do your colors that you wipe off the brush in between color changes, because everything will just kind of make one muddy color if you're not careful with that. Sometimes I'll skip a color, like I know this flower has many different layers on it, so I'll keep all the colors on this one, but this one doesn't have as many, so I won't use the pink in it. And this one doesn't have as many, so I'll choose to use just the red or the purple with it. Being a little messy here, but you get the idea. These watercolor pencils are fairly soft. The leads are soft, kind of like Prisma color pencils. So you have to hand sharpen them. That's just the best way to do it. And I like to just get a small hand sharpener and sharpen it that way so that I can control. And I find it best to twist the sharpener around the pencil instead of the pencil around the sharpener. I hope that makes sense. So you hold the pencil still and you twist the sharpener rather than twisting the pencil. It's kind of the opposite of what we have learned in other classes. Electric pencil sharpeners are very cool, but they just don't sharpen. They're better for just regular pencils. They don't sharpen art pencils well. Again, take your time because I'm a little bit, I'm rushing this a little bit. Enjoy the process. I mean, I'm rushing because I'm trying to get a demo video so you can see what the book looks like. Usually when I color, I kind of zone out. It's hard to talk while I color because I zone out so much when I color. So I'm doing on the leaves, I'm doing a base of the bright yellow-green on all of the leaves. And then I'm going to take the brighter green and I'm going to choose, I'm going to go in the middle and down the edge. And I'm going to choose a side that would be darker. So this I'm going to say is being in the shadow of the swirl. I'm also on one side of the leaf running the color down the edges. So on like this one, it's lighter in the middle and I have a darker edge on it. So before I color, I'm going to also take a darker green and go over the really dark areas. This just gives the leaf kind of a dimension to it. The more you play with that kind of thing, the better it will look. So now we're going to start with the watercolor over the top. I'm going to do the yellow in the middle. Then I'm going to clean my brush tip and then I'm going to go to the red. The reason I'm going to do that is so that yellow can dry and I have a little bit more control over how the red and the orange come together. And it'll look cleaner in the end. It won't all kind of bleed together because it's wet. Okay, since I did the pink, I'm going to go ahead and do the purple here. So I'm skipping over a color each time. And then once the yellow is dry and the pink is dry, I can go back in and do the orange. And then you won't get them blending into each other and lack of definition. So this one's dry. That one's dry. Oh, I should have done this blue. I'm going to have to let that dry a minute while the blue is wet. See, even though I had a quick color over the top with the watercolor pencil, once you get it wet and blend it, you're going to have a better, it's all going to look perfectly fine. Okay, and last area on the flowers is blue. And then we'll do the leaves and we'll have a finished blank page. Ready for your own doodles. Or some stickers. There you go. Finished page. So I'm a huge fan of these Posca markers. They're basically acrylic ink or acrylic paint inside a marker. And they come in all different colors. I'm just going to show you white today because even if you just get a white, you can do amazing things with it. Now, I love to add details to the flowers. Like I'll add dots to the flowers. You can come up with your own fun designs. Usually on the flowers I do dots or lines or something like, and I'm going to add lines in the red. It just adds some fun little extras to the flowers. I'm going to put some dots right there at the end of that line. Let's go up here. I think I'll put lines here. Then I'll put dots around here, which looks more like, we'll just make them little lines. Then we'll do dots on this one too. So one thing you can do to add some pizzazz to your flowers, you can add highlights in the leaves. Usually the watercolor paint kind of blends well with them. And this, I'm just going to add some stripes to it. You can go ahead and after it's dry, draw, even out that black that I'm messily writing over right now. You can also, it's fun to add little dots in these areas on the swirls. Sometimes because it's so black, you have to go over them more than once. Just depends on how you want it to look. I'm one of those people that constantly turn my pages around so I can get I turn the pages so that I can get a different, an easier direction for me to draw, I guess. If you don't turn your page around, that's fine. I actually do it without thinking, so. And what I try to do is make bigger dots where the line is thicker and small dots where the line is thin. If you wanted to try it and do all the same size dots, that would be wonderful. I would love to see what you guys come up with. Alright, so I'm almost done with the swirl. If I'm getting too messy here, I can always go back with a black pen and clean things up. Now, something about the markers, when you want more paint, you just push in. So, oops, there you go. Anyway, that was lovely. When you get too much paint, you need to wipe it off with something. That happened to be my finger, but also you can refill them. They don't have ink out for these type of markers yet, but you can get white ink and refill them. they never work quite the same way. So just a warning. Boy, I am making a total mess here. Sometimes messes are just happy accidents, but sometimes messes are just messes. So that was a mess. But it lightened that whole area, which isn't bad. Yeah, we'll live with it. Also, when you store these markers, you should never store them up like this or down like this. You should store them horizontally. Okay, so if you were wanting to do your own doodles on a page, I would do that before you painted it. So also to show you, even though the page is a little wrinkled, it's perfectly fine on the back. You can still do your watercolor pencils on the back. So this is a really busy page, but we'll doodle on it just for fun. So you want to make sure that you have a permanent marker. Hold on a sec. Okay, I also wanted to say that you could add stickers. You could either add stickers in this phase after you're done kind of doodling around. But if you like have something you just really hate that happened, like up here when I spilled that, I don't mind it. I'll go back with a black pen and fix that. But if you just hate it, you could take a big sticker or a doily and wrap it around. So as long as it's not interfering with anything on the other side, you could do whatever you wanted to. You know, make sure it covers up what you wanted it to cover up on this side, and you could either cut it off or leave it on the back side. So if you wanted to do something like that, you could. Just adds extra dimension over the top. You can always, you know, go back over the black areas that got messed up with your white marker. Clean things up. There are no rules. I mean, layer it up. So if you want to do your own little doodles, I would do them before you painted, and I would do them with a permanent pen. And this one was a Faber-Castell marker, Pip Artist pen. But you could use any pen you wanted. Just be careful that it is not the thickest paper in the world. So you will have bleed through if it's a really, like a Sharpie would bleed through. So we're going to do just a little funny character peeking over here like a little alien guy. I don't know why you would have an alien guy, but maybe he's had a cup of coffee. So we'll draw a coffee cup. And he's so happy to have his coffee. All right, let's have a little nose. So you just draw, I always sketch with pens first. You don't have to, but do what's comfortable for you. Because I'll erase the pencil afterwards, but that's just what I do. My Pitt pen isn't working very well. So, there's my little coffee cup with the steam coming up. And the caffeine must have made him very happy, or her very happy. Little hand. So there's your little doodle. It doesn't go through the other side, as long as it's not a real juicy pen. You can also use this kind of pen to doodle on your page. Sometimes, you know, I will doodle what happened during the day here. I put a cool quote here, and I'll put the date up here. it depends on what you would like to do. You could put the date up here. You could put the date down here. I tried to leave it open so that you could put a quote or write what you wanted here. You could always add the lines to your page, the wiggly woggly lines, if you needed something to go by. Anyway, so that's how I create in my doodle a day, and I hope you will like yours too.